Hello. Today we're going to talk about finding the mean or average of something. Now, this is sometimes a topic or a concept that many people struggle with. When they hear the word mean, they really don't know what that actually means. An easy way for you to remember that is that a mean is the average. And so this is also very important to remember because when we are asked to find the average of something, we are being asked to find the mean of something. And I believe in math that when you understand the steps to finding a concept, that you truly understand what that concept is. And so that just makes you understand that and make it easier. Now I have two ways that we are going to learn this. We are going to learn this using blocks, and we are also going to learn this using numbers written down and just using the simple concept of figuring out those numbers and finding the average with computing numbers. So, for the first one, I have blocks. Now, as you can see here, I have 1 and 2 different columns of these blocks, okay? Now, this can also be used with as many columns as you would like, but I chose for today 2. As you can see in this first one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different blocks in this column. Now, for the second column, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? We have 8 different blocks in here. So, what we want to do is we want to find the average of these 2 columns. Okay? So, when we find the average using blocks, what we're actually doing is we are making these even. Now, as you can see, they obviously are not even right now. So what we will do is we'll take 2 off. We'll take 2 off and see what that does. Because I usually start with 2 if it's a drastic difference like this one is. And, oh, look, we actually have even blocks. So now what we do is we count how many blocks there are in both columns. You want even columns here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the average of these 2 columns is 6. Alright? We started with 4 and 8. And we now found out that our average is 6. Now as you remember, or as we just went through, there are 3 steps to finding this. First of all, we had to count how many blocks we actually have, right? We had to count how many were in one column and how many were in the other. Then we had to actually count, there were 2 columns. Okay, and then after that, we had to make them even. Well, and then once we made them even, we had the third step of counting how many were left over. Okay, so that is how you use blocks to find the average of something, or the mean of something. So now let's talk about when you actually have to compute numbers on how you find that. Okay. So here, as you can see, I have the numbers 3, 5, 7, and 9. Okay, so we're going to find the mean of those numbers. Okay, so we're going to add them up just like we did before. We have 3 plus 5 equals 8. And then we have 8 plus 7, because as you can see, that's the next number, is 15. And then 7 plus 15, which would be the next one, plus 9, which would give you 24. Okay, so now our next step is to actually count how many of these we have. 1, 2, 3, 4 different numbers. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take what you added. So you're going to take the sum of all the numbers, and you're going to divide that number by the amount of numbers that you have. So there's 4. And then what 24 divided by 4 equals 6. Okay? So the mean of 3, 5, 7, and 9 is 6. And that is also known as the average. Okay, so now as you notice, we had some steps in solving these problems, and we're going to call them today the mean steps. Okay, and so we have 3 of them, as you can see right here. Now if you look back at this problem, our very first step here was to add all of that up. So we're going to add right here. That is our step number 1. Okay, you add up all these numbers. The next step we found out was to count. We had to count how many numbers were included, and like before, you had to count how many columns there were involved. Okay, so we're going to count. Okay, step number 2 is count. Now, as you can see, what we did was we took this sum and the amount of numbers that we had, and we divided them. So 24 divided by 4, and which gave us our average, or our mean, 6. So the last step that we need to do is divide. Okay? So the mean steps are add, count, divide. Okay? And you can use many different problems with this. It will work. Some ideas that you could also work with are using a dice. Okay? You can shake the dice. You get a 4. You can write down first roll 4, and then you do the second and the third and the fourth, and you just keep on rolling that dice and keep putting those numbers down, and then you take that and you add them all up, then you count how many rolls did you actually do, and then you divide whatever the sum is divided by the amount of rolls you did. Now another option for figuring out the average is reminding children that this actually has a lot to do with real life. Here you have baseball. You can buy baseball cards, and if you look at the back of this baseball card, you can see that you can find the average. Okay? Now in this last column over here is the average of things, and so you black that out, and then you have children actually figure out the averages of the teams or anything like that. And so this is a great way to also work with children and average. So that is finding average and using those steps to actually learn how to compute the mean of different things and using the mean in your everyday life.